welcome to Feedback Field Trip. This is the GDC edition from here in San Francisco, California. We're in the backstage area of the Developers' Choice Awards, which will happen hours from now. Joining us, me, Andrew Pfister, Abby Heppy, and Patrick Klepek. It's been a long week. Actually, it hasn't even finished yet.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself. We got 2 full days left.
Let's go ahead and just talk about the thing that people are talking about.
What would that be?
Sony's move and whether or not it has moved people. It's obviously their, it's their handheld motion control device that seems very similar in concept to Nintendo's Wii. I mean, what was your takeaway from that?
Well, I'm tall and have a low center of gravity, so I'm very difficult to move. And, SOCOM 4 was the main thing that really appealed to me out of that selection. I like party games, like mini games, but only when I have 3 friends or family members in my home. That's not, often these days. So SOCOM 4, look at it. I'm not the biggest SOCOM fan in the world. I can see how it can be applied to different shooters.
Yes.
But trotting out SOCOM is like, okay, we got this too, just didn't really register for me.
I mean, one of those things. It's like, why do you have to relearn how to play a game you already enjoy? It's what If this was a new shooter, if this was something brand new, like here's our new shooter built on this motion controller, then you will take the leap that okay, maybe they've designed it from the ground up. This was essentially just saying, look how easy we can tack on our new controller to an existing game, and I think that seems unnecessary.
Yeah, not to slam it or be too down on it because,
it's early.
Metroid Prime, you started playing that with the GameCube controller, and then by the time we got to Metroid Prime 3, it was split on the Wii controls, and that was really good.
I prefer the Wii controls.
And now we
prefer the Wii controls. Metroid Prime 3, when it was first shown at E3 with the announcement, or the first real reveal of the Wii, that game was not in the best shape. It was really complicated with a lot of controls. So, I mean, that is something to bear in mind.
And the Zipper guys know that they need to do lots of calibration and lots of focus testing just to make sure everyone's comfortable with it. It's just a matter of, does it really need it? And
because the only thing, and this is again like what I play on the Wii is railed shooters, and I think that you have an interesting market for those, especially with nicer graphics. But I think it remains to be seen. I mean, it's early, and these are games that the Wii had its learning curve too before stuff started being really good and really figuring out how to use it. I'd be interested to see what comes out of the third parties too. But at the same time, that's a lot of controllers in my house.
Well, and that's the thing is that if they showed a couple of demos where you had 2 of the Move controllers at once to take full advantage of what was possible. Logic dictating then that you might need 8 of those.
If you have a family of 4 or more.
If they're saying the starter pack is $100, so let's say the controller is $50 to $60. If you need 8 of those, that's just not realistic.
It's a lot.
So that price point, I think. They may not have announced it simply because they would want to gauge reaction, because the price is really going to dictate. If this is a family device, you need to get those out cheap, and this is coming mid-cycle. The reason that we worked was because it was in the box when you got it, and you added onto it. They're asking people to reinvest in a new peripheral midway through the cycle.
It's kind of like the Motion Plus. You're going to have to pack it in with as many things as possible for good reason, and you need to get you need that to catch up.
I was kind of wondering what the impact on the development and developers would be, because is there going to be more Sony exclusive games and then maybe Natal exclusive games, because developers don't feel like doing everything across all platforms because they don't want to have to deal with developing for the Move and for Natal and then for the Nintendo SKU, and how really disparate the development process for each one of those controllers will be, because I think that could be a really interesting change that we see just in who's putting out games for both.
And that could lead to a wait and see position for a lot of the third party developers to figure out, okay, if we're only going to make it for one of these 3 motion control systems, we don't want to just guess it's going to be this one.
It'll probably be the one that sells the most.
Yes, exactly. They'll have to go on sale first, then to figure that out.
I have to wonder too, with third party games on the Wii not really selling kind of up to what people would have hoped. Is the same thing going to happen with all the games that are going to be coming out for Move?
It is an interesting situation. The one thing I wanted to chat about is they did make a very, very clear point that SOCOM 4, and I think from that we can extrapolate all of these other, let's call them hardcore games, if it incorporates the Move technology, it is not only Move.
Right.
Does that necessarily work? On one hand, I feel like, well, that's good because I have that option, but doesn't that also de-emphasize the significance of their technology?
That's exactly my takeaway, is that that's why putting it on SOCOM to demonstrate how it can be grafted onto existing hardcore franchises is interesting. but it doesn't necessarily make me want to play the game that way. Like
Yeah,
that,
I would
you know,
probably still play with the
What I would
regular
have had
controller.
liked to have seen yesterday was something from that game company or Pixel Junk.
Sure.
Something that, takes advantage, and that's the only way you can play it.
That game company, actually, I was so surprised not to see something from them because
Yeah.
they made Flower.
Colors
I just kind of see using
But
that.
you can't pack in that controller with a download-only game.
That's a
Touché.
good point. Now, I did play SOCOM 4 with it, and while I actually felt it was slightly different than I think if I had a Wii controller in my hand, there was a sense of greater pleasure at getting a headshot because I felt I actually made that happen more than I did with I was using Wii Motion Plus. I can't say that I felt more skilled at the game, and especially if I was playing online against someone that might have a controller in their hand.
Yeah,
that's a
I
good
think I would
point.
get my
I didn't
ass
even
handed to
think
me.
about
It's the,
that.
kind of the classic, PC mouse and keyboard versus console controller.
Yeah.
And to me, the
But
Wii
almost
controls
even
and the
more
split controls.
abstract.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything's off with your calibration, or you're kind of screwed.
Now, they really were positioning this, that precision, that this is something that we cannot do, which is incredibly precise controls. Did you have the experience that you were getting something that precise?
I saw hints of where that could go, but there was nothing that I saw in the initial slate. And they kept emphasizing these are only 10 or 20% done, which doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence in this, it being a little bit rushed maybe to announce to get ahead of Natality 3. But there was, the Emotion Fighter game was one of the only ones that I saw that really sort of showed where this could go, because it was using the PlayStation Eye to detect your head movement and kind of how you were bobbing. You could use that to headbutt. You're holding two of the move controllers in order to do these really cool moves. And it was cool when you had someone in a headlock and you were punching them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's do I want to do that for a couple of hours, or is that just something
would
I
be
have
tiring.
with
And the
some
point-
buddies
yeah.
and we got some beers and we're going to sit and screw around with it?
And the point that was being made to me too is that you can't kind of just get away with using small motions. I mean, you really have to be involved
Exaggerated, yeah.
with an exaggerated and big gestures. And I mean, we saw a lot of that yesterday. So you can't really be lazy about it either.
Now, one of the things that did seem to stand out with the PlayStation Move that I do not believe Natal can do was actually, I think, the most young skewing game that they showed, where the iToy was, placing your image on the television, and that if you were holding the Move control in your hand, if you looked on the screen, it was you had a completely different object, and it seemed to work visually really, really well. I think there's something there. That doesn't
seeing
speak
how
for a
that could be
5-year-old.
integrated into something else is really fascinating. But of course, the first thing I thought of was lightsaber, and then
Yeah.
Why do we still not have that?
I don't
game?
know. But
Like,
then if you were in it, wouldn't that camera have to be behind you? I don't know.
No, but it's true.
Gotta give up.
The best case we made for motion control is finally fulfilling the fantasy of anybody our age, which is holding a lightsaber in your hand. Lucas has
I mean, now that every platform has it, please just make that game. I don't even care if it's terrible. Just make the damn game so we can do that.
Somebody needs to be, and I think LucasArts would make a lot of money. Just call it lightsaber game.
Yeah.
The generic print, we would actually be playing that game.
Subtitle, here it is, finally.
Who wouldn't buy that at the store too? You see a game that just says lightsaber game. Okay.
So obviously, the move was introduced kind of right on the heels, or I guess right ahead of God of War 3, which hopefully after the move and the apocalypse and some of the questions surrounding everything, that there'll be bright sunny days again. Actually, on the Sony note, in interviewing David Cage, I was stunned to learn that the first week of release for Heavy Rain, it moved 600,000 copies, which David himself did not think would happen. Jack Tretton didn't seem to think was actually going to happen. I mean, it's a rather phenomenal sales figure. I'm just curious if you guys think that we might be misjudging the appetite for complex games from gamers out there.
I mean, maybe, but I think we were all just sort of bracing. I think it was more just bracing ourselves than it wasn't,
Because we all wanted it to
there's
do
no,
well.
There's no way to know. We haven't seen a game like that before. We haven't seen that kind of story in a game before. So
There was a lot of attention
yeah,
given to it.
it was a lot of okay, if it doesn't, well, at least it was still a great game, and Sony took a chance on it. But that's really encouraging. If it actually is selling well, and the implications for that are pretty interesting.
Yeah, we were talking about the implications with David Cage and just about how other companies could start looking at this as more interactive storytelling and where it could go from there. I mean, I don't know if anybody would be able to do it as well as they did for a while, but
I'd like to see people try.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see definitely people in the movie industry being very interested in that, and that has a lot of possibilities. I would like to play more games like that.
Did he say anything about how people are playing the game? Has he been surprised at all at like the path people have taken?
People are responding to him. I think that he's more interested in sort of the harder moral decisions. He very much asked me ahead of the interview
What you did?
what I did in a certain situation that was involving a gun. And when I told him the answer, he then wanted to know what I would have done if it was real life, and that's what I needed to do to save my own son. I said, I don't have children yet, but I imagine I probably would do something like that. He kind of looked at me like he was disapproving. I don't know if you caught that. Yeah, I think he's a very inscrutable man, so I'm probably reading too much into it.
So I didn't do that. I didn't shoot him.
I bet on the inside, though, he was really pleased that you were able to talk about his game like that. That was what he wanted to do in the first place.
I think he's genuinely impressed with the reaction. The one other thing that he said, I think even Jack can play this too, is that he believes that the remarkable success of the game in that first week was due to the reviews. And I think rarely has that ever been ascribed to us, that we've ever had a role in something doing well. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, and speaking of Heavy Rain, that's a game that I think they should have trotted out for the PlayStation Move, because the analog stick movements, there'd be a lot of applications for a motion controller for that game.
Yeah.
And I was surprised didn't you love Heavy Rain? Now here's an example.
Yeah.
We thought they would.
Some of the most interesting stuff is with the 6-axis, so like shaking the 6-axis. If they could take that one step further, maybe their next game.
It's there. I mean, it is. I think we all felt a little bit like they were holding a couple of big things back involving the Move that will probably be revealed at E3.
With E3 a few months away,
Yeah, I mean, they had to get out ahead of Natal, really. I mean, because Natal is something completely different. Nobody really knows what's going on with that yet. PlayStation Move is familiar. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's essentially Nintendo said, we don't want to do Wii HD, and Sony said, well, we will.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's really my big takeaway from that whole announcement was, if they don't want to do it, well, we think there's something in that, so we're going to do it, because it's the same setup. It's just, I know it's more precise, but really it's not that different. They're just taking it to high definition.
Well, and the one other thing is, granted, there are games being made by Japanese developers. I think one is actually on display here at the Bloggers Lounge. But everything we saw in that room that first night was Western developers. And I have to say, the tone of the games seemed more appealing to me than some of the more oblique stuff. And this is more unique to Nintendo, is that there are times where I feel the games, while they work so well, they kind of get neutered through playtesting. And that there seemed to be a little bit more pop and imagination, and something that was compelling to me in some of the stuff. I very much like the rail shooter, The Shoot. It's just I was like, this is fun.
I have fun playing that. But as I said, I love rail shooters, and that's perfect. I mean, for me, sure, I'll have the thing. I'll play rail shooters on it. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to.
I mean, we both said we'd happily pay like $15, $20 for House of the Dead, Overkill, Dead Space Extraction. Make those downloadables.
Resident Evil, both.
Evil would be amazing.
Seriously, it would be really wonderful. I would love to see them actually bring back some of the titles that have come out for the Wii in the past couple of years, either on PSN or just completely up-resed and thrown onto PS3. And there's many of them that I will play or play again if they did that.
I think very few, if any of those games actually sold well. Exactly. If anyone's going to want to bankroll the investment.
I want more point-blank games. Remember those?
Yes.
Yeah, but games, third-party games do sell better, on the other consoles than they do on Nintendo's. So maybe it could be viable. I'm just throwing it out there. I would like to see that.
Free money.
They're all listening.
Free money.
Probably not.
Outside of PlayStation or anything PlayStation, were there any other games? Because there are quite a few games being shown at the hotels around the area this year. Anything stand out for you?
I got to check out the latest in the Bit Trip series from Gaijin Games called Bit Trip Runner, which essentially their pitch is it's a rhythm platformer. So as you jump, like all the other Bit Trip games, you influence the music through the gameplay, except now it's with a really tightly constructed platformer, and you're always moving in the game, but as you jump, as you hit things, as you collide with objects, you influence the music, and every time you die, it just starts you over. So essentially, you get to do a different remix every time you play, and it's the music's great and the art's fantastic, and that's a series that's been criminally underrated on WiiWare, a service that pretty much no one downloads any games from. But Bit Trip Runner looks amazing, and it's on the show floor. So if you guys have time, you should definitely check it out.
Awesome.
Anything for you?
You and I saw Civilization 5 on Wednesday, and it's kind of, if you're not into Civ,
you got quite an evil grin on your face.
You really did.
Because I wanted to steal it, and I wanted to just lock myself up in my hotel room on Wednesday night and just kind of play that. It's kind of boring to talk about if you're not into Civ, but I'm just really, really excited about it. It looks amazing. The hex system looks really cool.
Yes.
I'm getting tired of having enemies go through diagonally my defenses, my carefully constructed defenses. And then we saw Lara Croft, not Tomb Raider, Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light.
And it's
Because
got like
Tomb
a
Raider was the problem with the franchise.
isometric perspective or something.
He said with skepticism, and it looks really good actually.
It's
It's
not
a
skepticism
download
as much
game.
as it's really strange.
It was a surprise to see it, and when I first saw it, it just instantly reminded of something old school like Gauntlet, where you're just like two guys running through this isometric like dungeons, but they're carefully constructed in the vein of Tomb Raider dungeons. So it's about environmental puzzles, and Laura has a grapple hook, but she can't do certain things, and her partner, some ghost she resurrected, has a shield
course,
and is more
naturally.
powerful, and they have to
Bill
team up.
Cosby? That would be so awesome if Go establish a partner in a Lara Croft game.
But it
It would be.
I'm agreeing with you. Like,
We're all agreeing with you.
The Adventures
we're
of
just
Lara
all
Croft
very
and Ghost Dad.
confused that that's where your mind went.
and the rain and
It's been a long week. It's been a long
Oh,
week.
no.
The one thing I also want to say about Civilization 5 is I forgot about this and why I now almost regret going to the demo. When you see new stuff for a new Civ game, you can't go back and play the old Civ game anymore.
No.
It can't.
That's probably
I
true.
find
I
it hard
can
sometimes.
just because I have to.
I know,
That's all I have.
but it makes
But
it more
yeah.
challenging. Abby, was there anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, and I can't talk about it yet.
Okay,
I'm
but
going
we'll
to
be
be
up-
that jerk. But also, we did check out Alpha Protocol.
Yeah.
And that was really fun to see because we haven't actually seen much of it in a very, very long time. And we saw a really kind of interesting scene. We saw one that kind of demonstrated how the choices in the game affect, the outcome. Although it's very weird to hop in there without any sort of context as to really
Yeah.
what
Here's
is
a
going
complex
on,
moral
or
decision
who
that you
these-
have no
or who
context
these
for.
characters are. And then we saw something that was much more the combat and leveling and all that, and it was actually a really interesting demo.
What did you guys think of the voice acting in that? Because I was kind of left a little,
Oh, really?
little
Because
flat
I
on
actually
it.
I liked it because it felt sort of snappy and peppy. I believe it was the female
Yeah.
character you had the interaction
Russian, I
with.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, at least it was moving quickly.
Yeah.
If bad dialogue is delivered to me quickly, it doesn't.
We
See,
did all just
Jason,
talk super fast to Adam all the time.
But that's the thing I like about Alpha Protocol, and I hope that other games that have dialogue trees adopt, is that it forces you to make a decision very quickly. So that you don't sit there and think about it forever. You have to make a decision, snap judgment. You might make the wrong one, and that's kind of exciting that you might have your finger pointing to something, and then the time's up, and you accidentally chose
And that was sort
decision.
of what got me in Heavy Rain too. Where
Yeah.
I'm like,
And that's fun. It's fun to
It
kind
is.
of. It's fun when they incorporate making mistakes as part of
yeah.
like the
And then you
design.
go through in a second playthrough, and you're kind of prepared for it, so
Exactly.
you have like a better idea of okay, I should hit that now.
Well, I think one thing that did stand out for me was True Crime, which is that's just the name of it.
Yeah.
Because I had like that much hope. Because that franchise never resonated for me. I don't know why they are going ahead to resurrect
But
the
did you
franchise.
find your house in LA? I did
No.
that.
No, actually, no. I figured out where I was going to have to go to work to start a G4 using True Crime. Streets of
Before
LA.
Google Maps.
Yeah, exactly. It was just easier. But the game is what I wanted Stranglehold to be. That's how it looks. It's just,
Yeah, I didn't
it's
think
that
about that.
John
That's
Woo.
true.
Yeah.
I'm kicking people. I'm taking a meat cleaver. I'm hacking
Yeah, the
somebody
meat
up.
cleaver part was amazing.
It's just
It's
so
picked on
cool.
meat cleaver, and like the animations aren't like nearly finished yet, so it's just the guy waving a meat cleaver and just slicing people
But that
up,
was
and there's
after
blood
doing
everywhere.
kind of a
Good
slide
PlayStation move
tackle
game.
into two
There you
guys.
go. Meat cleaver minigame.
Yeah.
That one stood out, but I think the one that I'm so shocked by was a game I kind of saw by accident from Nexon called
Vindictus.
Vindictus. I want to say Diviculous, but that was a different game at a different time. Vindictus. This is a Korean MMO
Free to
that
play.
uses the Source engine, free to play, and is kind of Western medieval. And it's like because it's hack and slash MMO.
I haven't
That's
seen
not something you see
many
much
free-to-play
of.
games that look as good
Yeah.
as that one is, and apparently I think it's been doing really well in Korea.
In Korea, and it's going to come over. Just the art style alone, from the distance, you're like, oh yeah, this is just a fantasy, and then you start looking at it like, no, this is definitely an East Asian design, but it's inside a more traditional.
And you're
Western
seeing a
look.
free-to-play game where like everything is there's you can see the characters taking damage and you can break almost and throw. There's physics to it because it's using the Source engine. It was really impressive.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. But I think all of this is up on our website in addition to many more games, many more reports. These people are working very hard putting them up there. Give them their due and go check it out. Obviously, we'll have normal feedback at its regular time going up on Wednesdays from inside of that radio studio. But, we're out in the field. Decided to do a little extra.
Field trip.
See you next time.